What's going to happen is there's going to be some kicking going on at the beginning of this, and it's going to hurt both of their legs and their shins a bit, and then it's going to become a boxing match.
What's up, Barnhill family? Welcome back to the channel.
Yo.
So we got a big UFC pay-per-view card coming up this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Conor McGregor, Dustin Poirier, the Trilogy. This is going to be one of the biggest cards of the year, and it's got some really good fights on it.
Yeah. Oh, it does. And, you know, you can always tell when it's a Conor McGregor fight card because people that work out at the same gym that I do, that just do the weightlifting and they just want to build the muscles for the aesthetic purpose. You know, they know me as somebody who competes and fights, and they always want to ask me, who you got, Conor McGregor or the guy he's fighting? And now they start to know who Dustin Poirier is because they're following Conor McGregor's career. But it's really fun to talk with the ultimate casuals at the weightlifting gyms, and it's super fun. Conor McGregor still has that big fight feel around him. He's going to do big numbers this weekend, and the whole card is really great.
There's few fighters that can really eclipse the sport itself and become part of pop culture.
Yeah.
And Conor McGregor is certainly one of them. And
that's right.
Quite frankly, the guy who's starting off the main card, Sean O'Malley, said that he's going to be bigger than Conor one day. So maybe maybe Conor could open the gate and jerk the curtain, so to speak, on an O'Malley card.
Now that would be something. I think Conor will retire long before that day comes.
Of all predictions that I'll make in this video, that will not be one of them.
Yeah.
But let's talk about O'Malley. He's taking on Chris Moutinho, I believe is how you pronounce his name. Don't know much about him. Is not a current UFC fighter. This will be his first fight, replacing the staph-infected Luis Smolka. So is there any way Chris can win this fight, or is this kind of the next stepping stone for O'Malley?
Well, you know, it's hard. He's a huge betting favorite, as he should be. Nobody knows who this young man is, Chris Moutinho. And, you know, I'm happy for this kid. Opportunity called. And he answered the phone and said, absolutely. Now we're talking about him on a podcast. We certainly wouldn't have been doing that if he wasn't fighting Sean O'Malley. But look, he's on a McGregor card. 2 weeks ago, he wasn't on the Conor McGregor main card pay-per-view fight, fighting the biggest star in the bantamweight division right now. And you know, so I applaud this young man for taking this fight. That being said, he's 9-4, only has 3 finishes if I'm remembering correctly, and I think 2 of them are submissions. So he doesn't seem to have a ton of power in his hands or his striking, and you don't want to get into a firefight with Sean O'Malley that's going to be a long time. If you can't knock him out early or quickly, he's going to start to pick you apart, because I don't see many people with the striking skills that O'Malley has right now. And if you're not really a submission ace, which this guy doesn't really appear to be, and you can't get the fight to the ground, then it's trouble for you.
For sure, and O'Malley will definitely want to try that new purple belt on for size.
Yeah, exactly.
He's been competing in some IBJJF tournaments, so he's no slouch on the ground. He's known for his striking, but I don't think Chris is going to get. He can't cover that gap enough, even if he does have a grappling advantage, to really have a chance at submitting O'Malley. I see this being O'Malley putting on effectively a striking clinic. He's going to come out, he's going to feint, he's going to be exciting, he's going to land big shots, and he's not going to rush to follow up on them. He's going to hurt this young man. He's going to embarrass him in the octagon, and he's going to get a knockout victory at the end of the first round is my prediction. But there was a guy by the name of Joe Soto who fought TJ Dillashaw on short notice for the 135 strap many years ago.
Yeah.
And Joe was a relative unknown, and Joe lost that fight. But he did very well. And I think he went all 5 rounds, if memory serves me correctly. And Joe got a couple more fights in the UFC after that. So I think Chris, if he doesn't just go out there and lay an absolute egg, I would like to see the UFC do something nice for this young man. He's saving probably the biggest star besides the 2 in the main event and the 2 in the co-main event that are on this card. I would say that besides Wonderboy, Burns, Poirier, McGregor, it would be O'Malley thereafter. So saving him and keeping him on the card, I think Chris deserves a little bit of props here.
Absolutely. And the UFC always wants to keep a Sean O'Malley fight intact when they have one announced. And, you know, it sucks for Luis Smolka, who's dealing with a tough bout with staph infection. That's what pulled him out of this fight. But when one person goes out, Sean O'Malley goes, look, I just want to compete. I want to put a show on. That speaks to the confidence of him, which I think is something that's really important for him to have. He seems to be the kind of guy that has ice running through his veins, and some of us are able to mask that, and you can hide behind your nerves, and as long as you look cool, calm, and collected, you can really fool the audience. But I think there's some real ice running through Sean's veins, so the pressure is on him now. Luis Smolka is a UFC vet. We've seen him in there many times. When you get a guy that got pulled up from the regional scene and has absolutely nothing to lose, there's no pressure on him to win this fight. There's a ton of pressure on Sean O'Malley to win this fight and get him out of there in an emphatic fashion. So I think we'll get to see just how confident O'Malley is in his skills and just how well he's able to deal with this adversity and keep moving forward.
No doubt. Yeah, but I expect him to win and win emphatically, which, as you said, is expected.
Yeah. I've got second round finish. I think he's going to let some of those strikes marinate and let the up and comer, the new guy, feel some of those strikes, and then he's gonna finish the show.
Nice. And then a fight that probably will more likely go to decision thereafter. We have Yana Kuntsukaya versus Irene Aldana.
Yeah.
This is a great fight. Kuntsukaya, she has that style where she kind of just smothers you. She backs you up against the cage, and she likes to throw a lot of close range strikes there. Some elbows, some straight punches. I'm kind of leaning towards Yana to win this fight. How are you feeling on this one?
I'm feeling Yana's going to do exactly what she does. She's really good at cage work, and she's not a boring fighter up against the cage. If you know what you're watching, she's wildly accurate with her in the clinch up against the cage, striking, and she's very creative with it. She'll knee you on the inside of your leg, and then she look for a trip. If you're not there, she'll throw you some elbows ups or down your face. So she's really tough. As far as getting her off of you, shucking her off, and she's got a tough husband and Thiago Santos.
That's
maybe fiance, but I just see her overwhelming Irene Aldana and getting a victory. It's going to go all 3 rounds. She's going to win all 3 rounds, and that's exactly how this fight's going to go. She's tough. And she's not going to win a ton of fans doing this style, but eventually she's going to become undeniable if she just keeps winning.
I think you're right. And I think, Irene has been the fighter that's kind of gone back and forth. She wins 1, she loses 2, she wins 2, she loses 1.
Right.
And I think Yana's trying to make a run. She's trying to cement herself as an elite in the division. So I think she's going to do what she has to do to get a 30-27 victory here. Yeah. And as you said, it's not going to be the most aesthetically pleasing fight of the night. I doubt there will be $50,000 handed out to either of these young ladies, but I do see Yana getting a convincing victory.
Yeah, me too.
And so moving on to the big boys now. Now this has got $50,000 written all over it. We've got the Prince of War, Greg Hardy, taking on the Shoey himself, Tai Tuivasa. Now Tai Tuivasa will be looking to drink an entire pint out of somebody's shoe after a knockout. Greg Hardy will be doing everything in his power to prevent that. What's going to give here? Yeah,
well, and Greg Hardy might even supply the loogie that somebody spits into the shoe, which is just foul. But Tai Tuivasa,
by the way, one of the weirdest things that you can do post-fight. I don't understand. I get it's funny. It's entertaining.
Yeah.
I laugh every time it happens. I admit I go full casual in that moment, but a very strange thing to do nonetheless.
Yeah, all I know is I'm glad that I'll never be the guy that does that. I'm known for being that guy. I think that Tai Tuivasa has some good wins under his belt. He's beaten some really tough competitors. Greg Hardy, he's got some wins in the UFC. He's made tons of improvements, and he's growing as a fighter by leaps and bounds. But, there is a point where you start to make smaller improvements, and it's kind of like the beginner gains in the gym. When you first start, you see quickly, because you never worked out before, that you start to put this weight on. You start to really, change your body type and everything. And then eventually it starts to taper down. And then you see the guys who've been in the gym for 15 years, 3 years later, they don't look much different. They still look really good, but they don't look. And that's the same thing with MMA. You can make beginner gains, and you can start to look really good early on, but then eventually you're going to start to see less and less progress in the skills development.
Yeah.
And I think that Greg Hardy has got some wins, but he's not beaten anybody that's a top caliber fighter. He's not really faced anybody that's a top caliber fighter that hasn't just absolutely dismantled him. So I think Tai Tuivasa has a little bit more experience. He's got a little bit more of a chin, and I just see him getting this done. Likely going to be a knockout. I don't think the 50 grand is going to go to both sides. This is not going to be fight of the night, but it could likely be knockout or performance of the night. And I've got Tai Tuivasa getting it done in probably the second round.
Nice. I'm actually leaning towards Hardy in this one.
Yeah.
And what you said about the beginner gains is so true. You can improve by leaps and bounds early on, whether you're doing any sport, working out, as you said, weightlifting, you put a lot of muscle on in the first few months, and then it tapers off and you hit what we call plateaus in the sport. Greg Hardy is the kind of guy, everybody knows about Greg Hardy's past and what he did and how horrible that was. And because of that, Greg Hardy is booed every time he walks into an arena.
Right.
There will be fans back in this arena, but I kind of attribute Greg Hardy to Jake Paul to some degree. Not that Jake did what Greg did or anything like that, but just from the simple fact that 80% of the people in that arena hate your guts when you come out.
Right.
And some people thrive off of that.
Right.
And I believe Greg Hardy is one of those people. Now, all of the coaches said Greg's the nicest guy you could ever ask to train with. He shows up on time. He stays extra. He asks questions. He cleans the floors. He helps. He's doing a lot to rehabilitate his image, as he should.
Yeah.
But I think he's the kind of guy that when he gets in there and he hears those boos, that competitor, that NFL level athlete, and that chip on his shoulder comes through, and I think he's making technical improvements all the while. So I do see him. Ty's hard to finish. Ty's a tough SOB. I mean, was it JDS is the only guy that ever knocked him out. Yeah, knocked him out. So it's going to be tough. But I see Hardy getting it done in the second round.
Yeah, and this fight's going to take place on the feet for sure.
Oh yeah.
And if athleticism becomes the main point and the main storyteller of this fight, then Greg Hardy's going to get it done. He's good. Tai Tuivasa is going to have to get crafty. He's going to have to try to set some traps and catch Greg, because that's the only way he's really gonna win this fight.
Absolutely. And talking about setting traps,
Mr.
Wonderboy Thompson,
yep.
Stephen Thompson, the hill sprinter. I've so enjoyed watching him on the embeddeds with his dad there in South Carolina, and you see how they've built upstate karate.
Place looks immaculate.
It's incredible. It's like these kids are doing karate at one of the nicest MMA gyms in the world,
with one of the best fighters in the world. And he picks them up from school personally. They got 800 students over there. They're doing everything right.
Absolutely. The kids in Simpsonville, South Carolina, I believe is the city, are certainly benefiting from the Thompson family.
That's for sure.
And listen, just call me a MMA romantic, call me whatever you want to call me. I still have hope that Wonderboy is going to be the UFC champ before this is all said and done. Gilbert Burns is very tough. I mean, Gilbert Burns is one of the most decorated Brazilian jiu-jitsu fighters that has ever competed at 170.
Right.
He just fought for a title. He's very focused and dedicated to getting that win back and getting back into title contention. But I just see Stephen Wonderboy Thompson pulling a rabbit out of his hat and getting himself a victory here in emphatic fashion, and getting himself a title shot, if not the next fight, the one thereafter.
Yeah, and with the stalls as far as the agreements for the the title bout at 170, that could be exactly what they're waiting for. If Wonderboy does it, he's 38 years old. Let's get him in there real quick and see if he can prove himself against Usman. I would love to see that. It's crazy. You got Greg Hardy, the most hated man in the UFC, and then Wonderboy, the most beloved man in the UFC, right after each other.
Talk about contrast.
Yeah, that's some real contrast. But I think that every time Wonderboy fights, it's a very exciting moment. Everybody really loves it because you don't get to see that high level of sport almost ever, especially at the highest levels. You can see people like him. Michael Venom Page is one of them, but generally Michael Venom Page isn't in there with the type of fighters, the caliber that Stephen Wonderboy is in there with. And to watch him do that against people like Vicente Luque, potentially against Gilbert Burns this weekend, is a thing of beauty. What makes me lean towards Wonderboy in this fight is, Gilbert Burns, I've watched a little bit of the countdown and the embeddeds and stuff like that. It seems to me like not him, but his training camp and his team are trying to change his game plan and his style to defeat Wonderboy. And one thing we know is you can't switch your game plans during one training camp.
Especially when you're fighting somebody with as unorthodox and uncommon of a style in MMA as Wonderboy's style.
Right. We know exactly. Wonderboy isn't coming out there with a different game plan. He's going to do exactly what Wonderboy does. And, if you start to try to chase him for takedowns, and make no mistake about it, Wonderboy knows how to defend takedowns. Oh, yeah. He's got about a 78 or 80% takedown defense rate. So one of the best in the entire UFC. People just assume because he's such a good striker and he doesn't have a nice, pretty black belt or anything like that he can't, defend himself. But he absolutely can.
I think he's got a red belt on his karate uniform. I saw that in the Road to the Octagon.
There you go.
He had a red belt on. So he's, I don't know what you call that in karate, but it's high up, I would venture to say.
Very nice. They have all the colors of the rainbow on their belt system. But I really like his chances at this. I think he's going to win rounds. I think he's going to win round 1 and 2 with moving really well. Round 3 is going to be a little bit difficult because Gilbert's going to come at him hard. Gilbert's going to try to take him down, and so he's going to have to shuck him off and do a lot of defensive takedown stuff. But I see Wonderboy getting his hand raised and then moving into a title fight.
Yeah, and when you think about this, and we said this in our other video regarding Nick Diaz and Robbie Lawler, there hasn't been a fight title announcement at 170.
Right.
And so that really kind of makes you start to wonder, what are they doing there?
Right.
Because you have Colby Covington, who Dana said is getting the next title shot, but that's yet to be announced.
Right.
You have Masvidal, who said he's fighting Colby Covington.
Right.
You have Leon Edwards, who just had a great victory over Nate Diaz.
Yep.
All but the last 30 seconds, he dominated him. And that hasn't been announced yet. So it makes me wonder, is the UFC, and I know if I'm wondering this, then the Thompson camp is wondering this.
For sure.
Is the UFC waiting to see what happens with this fight before they announce the next title fight?
Could be.
And I think the answer to that is yes.
Yeah.
I think they are wanting to see, does Wonderboy come out and beat the hell out of Gilbert Burns? Because if he does, I think he's got as good a chance as anybody. I know Dana said Colby, but I think that they might just slide Wonderboy in there.
Yeah, and he's got the mental strength to seize the moment. I can really see him getting a win here. And then he's not a guy to call people out, but he is a guy to take or ask for what's fair and rightfully his.
Yeah.
And I really hope he does. He doesn't go with the mean call outs and stuff like that after fights, but he does get his message across to the crowd and to the people watching. So I'm really looking forward to that.
I think so. And just final prediction, I'll go Wonderboy via decision, 4 rounds to 1.
Is it?
Oh no, sorry, 2 rounds to 1.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think 2 rounds. I think 29-28.
That feels like a main event.
Yeah, I know it. Maybe the next one.
And moving into the main event, we've got Conor McGregor, Dustin Poirier, the trilogy. I mean, what else needs to be said here? Each of these guys knocked each other out.
Right.
These guys hated each other the first fight. They loved each other the second fight, and now they're somewhere in the middle for the third fight.
That's right.
And I think this fight is going to be the best and most competitive of the 3.
I do too. I think that Conor, it really adjusts and makes good corrections to his weaknesses when he gets exposed. And he's not one to be stubborn about, I'm going to go out and do the exact same thing. I think he's going to come out like the vintage Conor that we see, with more of a sideways stance, maybe throwing a little bit of karate stuff, being really quick at moving out of range. And, I think watch for Conor to throw some calf kicks. I think he's going to try to prove to you that not only can I defend him, but I'm going to actually start blocking him. So, Dustin Poirier's got to think the same thing. Watch out for checks, because I think checking kicks, and what's going to happen is there's going to be some kicking going on at the beginning of this, and it's going to hurt both of their legs and their shins a bit, and then it's going to become a boxing match towards the end of the first round. And if Conor McGregor is able to land those strikes like he used to land them on Eddie Alvarez, and he's able to throw those, and he doesn't get too heavy in the front leg, he cracked Dustin a few times with those, and that was trouble for Dustin. Dustin's tough, but he got wobbled a couple of times. If Conor comes out like that, I think Conor gets the finish, and I think he gets it done early or late first, early second. If it moves into the late second, into the third round, Dustin Poirier is going to really like his chances at winning.
Yeah, I like Dustin's chances at winning after every round passes by.
For sure.
Conor McGregor, he said that he was training for a Manny Pacquiao boxing match, or at least that was kind of what the consensus was prior to the Dustin fight being announced. as he was very heavy in that front leg, as we talk about all the time. Our coach, Bob Perez, hates the calf kick because it's so easy to check. And if you watch the Chris Weidman-Uriah Hall fight, we were just talking with a teammate of ours today about how easy it is to just, if you're in the right stance, turn your leg out and allow them to hit the bone in your leg rather than the meaty part of the outside of your calf. It's really not that big of a movement that you have to make. Turn your leg out, sit down in your front leg for a split second, and you can literally wreck somebody's entire year by snapping their leg. And I think, unfortunately, because the calf kick has become so popular in MMA, we're going to see more of that. The calf kick can either be neutralized right away with a good, strong check, and then they won't be throwing that again, or if it goes unchecked, it can be the undoing of you, which is what happened to Conor. I don't think that the calf kick is really going to play much into this fight because there was so much made about it in the second fight.
There's kind of just going to be a nod to it. Like, we're both going to throw a couple, and then it's going to be...
And then, okay, let's move on with the rest of the fight now.
Right.
And Conor said in a post, this is all mixed martial arts camp. This has been nothing but a full immersion of a mixing of the martial arts since I lost to Dustin, basically up until now.
Yeah.
And this is going to be the best mixed martial arts version of me you've ever seen. Conor has shown one thing that I think we can all agree on, is that he knows how to lose a fight and correct his mistakes and come back and win. Dustin Poirier, though, he knows how to do the same thing. Dustin Poirier was a guy who was win 2, lose 1, just grind his way up, from Louisiana, from the local promotions. He likes to say paid in full. And I think that's the way to put it. He earns every inch and every dollar he's ever made in this sport. And I think Dustin has just grinded this camp out. And I think Dustin's going to win.
Yeah, well, the crazy thing, one statistic, is if Dustin wins, I believe it's his 12th win at 155, which is insane because he had an extensive career at 145. Conor, if he loses this, he will only walk away with still one victory at 155, which is kind of crazy because we did think that 55 was going to be Conor's best division. I kind of just see this going Conor's way. I think Conor's going to come out like vintage Conor. He probably watched some old videos of himself and realized just how special he was back then, and is probably trying to make some improvements on those types of things, some tweaks. And I think there's going to be some magic in the air. The Fighting Irish is going to get the luck that they bring to the cage and that they need. And I see Conor getting it done in the first round or early in the second round.
Nice. Well, guys, thanks so much for watching our video. We'll run it down just one more quick time. So we both picked O'Malley to win, right?
Correct.
We both picked Yana Kunitskaya to win.
Yep.
There you go. But you picked Tai Tuivasa. I picked Greg Hardy.
Yep.
Both Wonderboy.
Yep.
And then we split the main event. I got Dustin, you got Conor. Is that right?
That's right. So we're either going to win a bunch or lose a bunch together.
There we go, guys. Let us know in the comments, what are your predictions? And what do you think the fight of the night's going to be? We'd love to hear from you. As always, if you've enjoyed, please like, comment, and subscribe. And check us out on audio where you listen to those podcasts. Have a great day, guys.
Peace.